Accuracy in Academia does these author nights for Capitol Hill interns because, well, we see the speakers you get, and we figured whatever opinion you come out with, you deserve the information on the other side. And that seems to be wanting from what we've seen coming out of academia. I should mention, by the way, these are brought to us by a generous grant from the Frank A. and Nettie Galletti Fusco Foundation, for which we are most grateful. But I was just writing about this, and one problem you have talking to journalists is that the main thing we're interested in is the last thing we wrote about. And I'm a journalist, but try to be. At any rate, two things that academics have weighed in on, and one thing they created, the Arab Spring and Obamacare. Both came about for the same reason. They basically talked to each other and came up with their theories about what's happening or what should be done. In both cases, they ignored primary sources. In Obamacare, doctors, nurses, EMTs, for that matter, patients. In the case of the Arab Spring, they could have actually talked to people from the country, from the region, who've spent some time in the region, to get a better handle on what is happening. At both Accuracy in Media and Accuracy in Academia, we try very hard to go to primary sources. It's one reason we stay here. The Library of Congress is right behind us. We can go to original hearings rather than read what is said about them in books, which is often inaccurate. I might add, third element, I'm coming down the home stretch. The third element is, I'm afraid there is the tendency, especially when you don't consult primary sources, to kind of superimpose your idea of what is happening. And this happens a lot when there are revolutions abroad. I was struck by the fact that what the elites did with the so-called Arab Spring revolutions is very similar to what happened in my wife's homeland of Zimbabwe 32 years ago, where elites judged that Robert Mugabe, who later racked up 1 million+ casualties, was some kind of Jesuitically trained philosopher king. They're always looking for philosopher kings. At any rate, I got quite an education from both the great Nani Darwish and from our speaker today, who I first was privileged to hear on a panel at the National Press Club 2 years ago, and wanted to bring her here tonight. She's the author of a political novel that I hope to read the translation of someday, to share her insights, experience, strength, and hope. We are proud to have with us Cynthia Farahat.
Thank you all for having me. Anyways, I'm glad I'm here, and thank you so much, Mel, and thank you, Spencer, for organizing this. It's an honor to be with you. And actually, we met about a year and 3 months ago. Not really 2 years, because I've been here in America for 18 months. I was born and lived all my life in Egypt, and when I arrived here to live permanently, almost in exile, almost kicked out from Egypt. I was not even sure where I was going to spend the night upon my arrival to America after traveling for 25 hours. So I'm glad I'm finally here. America is a little better than a third world military prison. I think we can agree. So I'm glad, very glad that I'm here. And thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your work, Mel, for accuracy in the media, because I have seen what happens when there's inaccuracy in the media, and it's just tyranny and dictatorship. That is what happens. I wrote my political novel Cognac in 2010 in Egypt, but I could not publish it under Mubarak's regime because it has a lot of facts about the three power players that were battling over power, it had a lot of facts, and it was almost prophetic, but not because I'm psychic, but because I understand cause and effect. And I was worried that if I publish it and discuss all the details and what was going to happen, what is inevitable to happen, I would have been tried for treason or espionage or something like that. Crazy, because that's what they do to political activists and dissidents in my country. Actually, Cognac is a romantic political novel, and I also it was supposed to be published last month in Cairo, but because of the political turmoil and also my publisher backed out of fear of going to prison for blasphemy, which is usually the case. I published a book in Egypt, co-authored a book in Egypt that was banned by Al-Azhar University in 2008 because it discussed Egypt's blasphemy laws. So my publisher backed out, so we were going to have to wait till next fall to publish it, but we will definitely will. And then at the same time, we'll get it translated to English, so hopefully you would be interested to buy it and read it. I chose to call it Cognac for several reasons, not only because Cognac's nature as a drink in terms of its complexity and richness and acquired taste is similar to the attributes of Samantha, the main character in my novel, but also because like Cognac, her passion, love, rationality, and mere existence were forbidden and incriminated by blasphemy and many laws in Egypt. I will discuss two main incidents that happened to her that would give you a glimpse to the actual lives of millions of women and children that lives under Sharia law, which is Islamic jurisprudence. Samantha was born and grew up in Egypt under Mubarak's socialist constitutional theocracy. The first incident that I'm going to discuss that she encounters in the novel was when she was about 6 years old. She grew up with a loving mother and a very violent and abusive father. And when her mother sought the help of the police officer told her, how do we know that you're not a disobedient wife who deserves to be beaten up and punished? Because, as some of you might know, wife beating is legal in Egypt and under Islamic law.